Welcome to this free immigration help channel. In this video, yet again, we are talking about family reunion. And in this video, I wanted to make from scratch, from the beginning, the very first stage, the very first step of starting the process of family reunion. And we're going to talk about Form I-130. And if you're not familiar with the form and all the numbers, don't worry, from scratch, you will understand. Now, I've done a video like this before back in 2019, but I got plenty of reviews to make an updated video 4 years later. So here we are in 2023. Let's get into it. As you guys can see, I have in front of me uscis.gov website open. This is the official website, government website for US Citizenship and Immigration Services. All the information that I provide on this channel is directly from the official government website. I don't pull the information from any online forums or stuff like this, because reliable information, the information that we need, can only be found from the official sources and nowhere else. All right, so this is just kind of a word of warning. Okay, so in order to start, we're gonna get straight into it. We're gonna go into the forms. This is where you can find all of the forms, and in fact the next thing we're gonna go is all forms. And this, you will see the list of all the forms. There's a lot of them. We are looking for I-130. I-130, here we go. Here it is, petition for alien relative. Yes, in other words, family reunion. We're starting the family reunion. And the very first thing you probably notice here is that there is an option to file this form online, which I do highly recommend. Now, in this video, because you actually need to create the real USCIS account and obviously with the real information, real name, email address, all that sort of stuff. In this video, I will be showing you the paper application, but it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same questions. It's exactly the same information that you need to fill out, only online. Now, before we get into it, the advantage of doing this online is because once you submit the form, once you pay for the application, that's it. It's already submitted. There is no waiting for, the paper application and the documents to be mailed, to get there, wait until they're reviewed, and if there is a problem, it is sent back. There is no stuff like this. So you are winning quite a lot of time by filing this online. So I definitely highly recommend doing it. But all of the information, we're gonna go to the form I-130. This is it right here. All of the stuff that we are gonna be using is gonna be here, and I'll show you the form I-130. We're gonna go through this. It's a PDF application. We're gonna go through this one. Also, the instructions can be found here. I will put all the links in the description below because I highly recommend going through everything in the instructions, just reading absolutely the whole thing before starting the application, and you will see, you'll understand why. Now, where to file? If you decide to file by mail and not online, you can find this information here. Filing fee, the most updated, you can find it here. Currently it's $535, but these fees, they do tend to change. All right, so if I'm making this video is January 2023. If you're watching this video in July 2023, make sure to double check, because it might be different. Checklist, required initial evidence, all of this information is here. Some filing tips, special instructions, related links usually are rarely applicable, but sometimes are. So I highly recommend going through the whole page. But let's get into the instructions. I really wanted to kind of go over it briefly so that you see the importance of reading through the whole instructions. First of all, the very first thing you will find in instructions is who. Who is, because I get questions like this a lot of times. I am a US citizen. Can I invite, not invite, but can I file a petition for my child who's over 21 and has 2 kids, who's already married? Can I petition for him to come to the United States of America? Great question. All of these answers can be found here. So we're gonna go briefly through this, a few different categories, and then we will move on to the application form itself. Okay, so who may file the form I-130? Who can, in other words, start family reunion? So if you are a US citizen, you must file a separate form I-130 for each eligible relative, all right? So there is no filing for 2 people, for 3 people. For each, you have to file individually, all right? So that kind of answers one of the quite often asked questions. You may file form I-130 for your spouse, all right? Your unmarried children under 21 years of age, your unmarried sons or daughter 21 years of age or older, your married sons or daughter of any age, your brothers or sisters, you must be 21 years of age or older, and your mother or father, you must be 21 years of age or older. Okay, so if you're a US citizen, you can literally invite anybody in your family, in your direct family, whether it's your spouse, your unmarried, married children, don't matter, brother, sister, mother, father, doesn't matter, as long as you are 21, over 21 for those. But category 2 now, which is not necessarily category 2, but more of like a separate category of its own. If you're not a US citizen, but if you're a lawful permanent resident, someone with a green card, and obviously green card, United States, permanent resident of the United States, you must file a separate form I-130. Again, you're filing separate for everybody. You may file for your spouse, your unmarried child under 21 years of age, your unmarried son or daughter 21 years of age or older. Okay, so you see, the age doesn't matter for you, for your children if you are a green card holder, permanent resident, but they have to be unmarried. So if they are married as a green card holder, as a permanent resident, you cannot file the petition for them. You can wait for your naturalization. Once you are naturalized, once you get your citizenship, then you can file even if they are married. Okay, hopefully that answers one of the most kind of common questions, who I can petition for. Now let's get into the application. Again, this is a paper application where you will be filling it out online, so it's going to look obviously a little bit different, but the questions are going to be the same. It's the same information that you will be putting in. I want to make a distinction between the paper and online though. If you do decide, I don't know, for whatever reason, you're just old school and you just don't want to deal with online stuff, that's it. You made up your mind and you're doing the paper application, period. That's it. If you do decide to go with a paper application, make sure that you don't leave any blank spaces, all right? And I'm going to go through, we're going to have examples where a blank space is, well, that's not an option. You have to leave it blank, all right? Don't leave it blank. Put not applicable or an N/A, but I will show you how to, specifically. Or none, okay? Don't leave blank spaces in the paper application. It's very important. Online application, it doesn't matter. But on the paper application, don't leave any blank spaces. Okay, so 8 minutes later of the video, we're getting into the filling out of the application. Now, you will notice 2 distinct individuals, right, in the application. Petitioner and beneficiary. What are those? So petitioner is you. You are, let's do an example for this video. Let's say you are John Doe and you're a United States citizen, and you are inviting your brother from I don't know, Brazil. Not inviting, but you're petitioning for your brother. So you are John Doe, U.S. citizen from Brazil. You came from Brazil, whatever, doesn't matter how you immigrated here, and now you're a U.S. citizen. And now you're petitioning for your brother who is still in Brazil to come here, obviously, petitioning for a family reunion. So you will be the petitioner and your brother will be beneficiary. And that's the distinction, and you will see petitioner, beneficiary, you will see both of these in the application. So let's start the application. Well, very first question, I'm filing this petition for my spouse, parent, brother, sister, child. All right, so in our case, it's going to be brother, right? In our example. If you are filing this petition for your child or parent, select the box that describes your relationship. If you're filing this petition for your child or parent, well, in this case, we're not filing for child or parent, so we can leave this blank. Okay, so check boxes, you can leave them blank, that's not a problem. If the beneficiary is your brother, sister, are you related by adoption? Okay, well, in our example, say no. If it's yes, then say yes. Did you gain lawful permanent resident status or citizenship through adoption? Well, in our example, we'll say no. Now, the alien registration number, if any, if you are familiar with it, if you have your immigration case in process, you know what a number is, the alien registration. If you have it, put it in. If you don't have it, that's fine. Just leave it blank. Here you can leave it blank as well. Where the numbers go, you can leave that stuff blank. That's not a problem at all. Or if it, you can put none if you don't have any, or not applicable like that. It really doesn't matter in these blank spaces. Now, USCIS online account number. That's another thing that I get a lot of questions about. Is for whatever reason, some people do get it once they create their USCIS online account. They get it in the email. And some people never get it. If you never got it, don't worry about it. Leave it. It's no big deal. If you did get it, just put it in. I really don't know what it depends on, why some people get it and some people don't. It's, I guess it might be depending on the territory or the type of application, or maybe, I don't know. But if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Social security number. Now, if you have that, again, put it in. Full name, obviously, it's going to be Doe John. Now, John Doe doesn't have any middle name, all right? Now, this is the kind of blank space that you don't want to leave blank. And obviously, you don't really want to put none because who knows? Maybe none is a middle name. So we don't want to do that. We're going to put N-A, not applicable. All right, so this is the kind of blank spaces that you don't want to leave. Why? I would assume, now this is just kind of my thinking. I might not be correct about it, but I'm thinking that it's done for security reasons, so that there is nothing that can be written into the application after the fact. All right. So if John Doe doesn't have a middle name, nobody can add the middle name for him. All right, something like that. If you put not applicable, obviously that's it. Not applicable, the blank space is taken. But I cannot tell you how many times I have seen paper applications come back to the applicant with, whoever the officer is, USCIS officer, whoever reviewed the application, them saying, hey, fill out the blank spaces. Put a not applicable or none. Don't leave the blank spaces. And it's no big deal, really. But you wasted time waiting for the paper application to get there, for them to review it, send it back, you fix everything, then you send it back again, and they review again. That's like 2-3 months. You just wasted because of silly stuff, blank space. So don't do that. Okay, moving on to the part 2, information about you. See, petitioner. You're the petitioner. Okay, provide all the names you have ever used, including aliases, maiden names, nicknames. If you change your name during the citizenship or because of marriage, make sure you put in all the other names. If you put your updated new name right here, but all the old names that you used, that's where the information. And if you never did, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable. Moving on, city, town, that's where you were born. Country of birth is going to be Brazil. Rio de, I don't know, Brazil, but you get the point. This is just an example, all right? Date of birth, I've never even been to Brazil, I gotta visit. But date of birth, obviously, sex, male, female, mailing address, all right? All of that sort of stuff, basic stuff. Address history, provide your physical addresses for the last 5 years. Whether inside or outside the United States, provide your current address first if it's different from your mailing address. So your mailing address is your, if it's not, the differences between the actual residential address, physical address, and the mailing address. If sometimes, a lot of people, I get that question a lot. It's like, why are these two different things? Well, mailing address is where you get the mail. And sometimes people live in a different address from where they get the mail, all right? So let's say, to some people it might seem like, why would that ever happen? Like, this is silly. But as an immigrant, starting in a new country from scratch, you might be living, for a month here, for a month there, for 2 weeks here. You can be changing your physical addresses quite often. But your mailing address, you might have a friend who you trust or a relative who you trust, and you can be like, hey, can I have all my mail delivered here so that I don't have to change my address every single time until I find like a more stable, place to live in? That would be an example. So all of the physical addresses for the past 5 years. All right. Your marital information. Now, how many times have you been married? Current marital status. You married, divorced, single, all the stuff like that. Date of current marriage. All right. Place of your current marriage. Names of all your spouses. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Information about your parents. Okay, so that's a parental information. Again, don't leave any blank space here. Country of birth, city of birth, country of residence. Parent 2, obviously dad, mom or dad. Additional information about you. Now, this is a very, very important part. Here they're asking for your status. Are you a U.S. citizen or are you a lawful permanent resident? Because if you're none of those things, you shouldn't be filling out this application. You gotta be one of those. Okay, if you are a U.S. citizen, complete item 37. My citizenship was acquired through birth in the United States, naturalization, parents. So if you are a naturalized citizen, like myself, for example, if you came here as an immigrant, started as an immigrant, and then eventually you got naturalized, got your citizenship, this is going to be the selection. We're going to use that we can select it here. Good. In some of these things on the paper application, when you're filling out on the computer, you will notice that some of these things are not clickable, and they are the ones that are in white. Gray ones are clickable, these are not. So the ones that are not clickable, just kind of make a mental note or maybe write it down somewhere that you need to come back to it and fill it out. Once you're done filling out the whole application, print the whole thing out and then come back and just with the pen, because you will have to sign the paper application anyway, so you'll have to go through it again. But just remember to select it. Don't forget, and don't leave the stuff like this. If you don't have this, don't leave it blank as well. Put not applicable or none. All right, still information about you. Moving further, we got the part 2 information about you continued. If you're a lawful permanent resident, okay, so class of admission. Actually, I just recently got a question regarding the class of admission. Whenever it comes to the class of admission, most of the times it will be really different from one person to another, right? Because everybody comes in here on a different basis. But for example, let's just say you came in as a student, right? F1, non-immigrant student. You came here, you studied for 1 year, then you got an employment opportunity, and there was an employer who was willing to sponsor you. So they sponsored your work visa, and now you're here, you're working. And then, a few years down the road, the employer realized that you're just way too valuable. They don't want to let you go. They're willing to sponsor your residency here. Whatever, something like that. Or you got married. Maybe you got married, and based on your marriage, that's how you got your permanent residency. Whatever. Going back to the class of admission, here they're asking how you got into the country, all right, how you were admitted into the country. And in this example that I brought, F1 student. So here's going to be F1 student. That was the class of admission. Date of admission, all right, when how you got in, again, how you came. Place of admission, how you came to the country, let's say New York, port of entry. State, see, did you gain lawful permanent resident status through marriage to a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent? Yes or no? Right. Employment history, going through all of your employers, employer history 1, employer history 2, for the past 5 years, whether inside or outside of the United States, provide your current employment list. Now, if, for example, past 5 years, keep in mind, past 5 years, if you had more than 2 employers, or more than 2 addresses where you lived in the past 5 years, you will have to attach additional supplemental pages, and I will show you. I'm pretty sure in this application there should be additional supplemental pages where you, for the whole 5 years, you don't stop at 2. All right, just because it's 2 here doesn't mean you should stop at 2. It's 5 years. If you had more than 2 employers, definitely have to list all of them. Okay, biographic information, ethnicity, obviously, race, all that stuff, height, weight, eye color, basic stuff, biographic information, hair color, information about your beneficiary. Okay, now we're done with the petitioner. We're done with ourselves, all right? We're done with John Doe. We're moving on now to his brother, who he is inviting, the beneficiary. Most likely, he's not going to have alien registration number. He's not going to have USCIS online number, and most likely not the social security number. So that probably is going to be not applicable or none. But if they do, for example, they've been here before, obviously you put it in. Beneficiary's full name, again, okay, I'm going to do Doe, and he's going to be Jason Doe. Middle name, not applicable, he doesn't have one. Other names, if used, other information about the beneficiary, city, village, town of birth, country of birth, date of birth, sex, male, female. Has anyone filed a petition for the beneficiary? Has. If not, then if this is the first time you're filing, then no. Physical address, other addresses and contact information. So it's the same thing. You're listing some of the addresses, some of the different addresses if they have any information about the beneficiary. Again, mobile phone number, email address. One thing that I wanted to mention here, very important thing, is that I do get that question quite often on this channel, is whenever it comes to the email for the beneficiaries, maybe they don't speak English, maybe they don't. If you are not sure, if you're not 100% on that, just put your own email address. All right, put your own email address so that you don't miss the important correspondence from USCIS, because you really don't want to miss it. Now, both of the emails, for example, if the application is approved and it's moving on to the next stage, it's moving to the Department of State, to the NVC portal, which I'll probably maybe make a separate video once this is approved, what happens. But both emails, it will be sent to you, to the petitioner, based on your email that you provided, USCIS online account. That's why I recommend doing it online. Another reason, because the email is there. There is no opportunity for mistakes, okay? And also the email of the beneficiary. But to be on the safe side, if you want, put 2 emails of your own in here. Just a recommendation. In case if they don't speak English, all right? So that they don't miss important information. Okay, beneficiary's marital status. Are they married, single, whatever? Current marriage, place of beneficiary's current marriage, name of beneficiary spouses if they have multiple, beneficiary's family, okay, so relationship, so it can be children, obviously here. Information about beneficiary still going, so up to 5 persons in the family if they have up to 5 kids. If you need additional, there will be additional pages, I think, at the end of this application, but we'll see. Entry information. Now, that's another one, very important one, and you have to be as accurate with this information as possible, as truthful as possible. Of course, this information, sometimes, time passes, you're not 100%, you might forget, happens, but just try to be as accurate as possible. Was the beneficiary ever in the United States? Okay, so in our example, we'll just say no. But if they were, if it's yes, let's say you're inviting your, for example, mother, and she was here before visiting you just on a regular B1 non-immigrant visa. Make sure, again, class of admission, see all of the options here we actually have, so it makes it easier. Here we can actually find a B2 actually. We have temporary visitor for pleasure. That's most likely the case. I-94, arrival departure record, very, very important. A lot of people are struggling, especially these days, finding it. I've done a separate video on how to find your I-94 number. There's a separate website for looking that up. If you don't know, if you're not sure, check it out. This video is uploaded here on this channel. Date of arrival. Again, this is something you can pull up on that website if you're struggling. Date authorized stay expired or will expire as shown on Form I-94. All right. So that would be, if they're still here, for example, they want to see whether or not they are still legally here. Passport number. Okay, obviously very important. Travel document number. If there is none, just say not applicable or not. Country of issuance, obviously in our case is going to be Brazil. Expiration date for passport or travel document. Now, moving further, we got beneficiary's employment information. Additional information about beneficiary. Was the beneficiary ever in immigration proceedings? Yes or no? If yes, then removal, rescission, exclusion, or just hopefully not, because that creates a little bit of makes it a little bit more difficult with this application. But in our case, we'll just say no. But if that's the case with you, then obviously you'll have to answer here as truthfully, as correctly as possible. Moving further, if the beneficiary's native written language does not use Roman letters, type, or print his or her last name. And so, for example, if you're, Russian, it's a different alphabet, right? Cyrillic or Cyrillic, whoever pronounces it different way. If that's the case, if in your passport, Russian passport, it's in different, obviously, alphabet, this is where you type it in the native Russian alphabet, Cyrillic alphabet, not Russian alphabet, but you get the point. Okay, moving further, if filing for your spouse, provide the last address at which you physically lived together. If you never lived together, type or print never lived together. All right, this is that. Moving further, the beneficiary will not apply for adjustment of status in the United States, but he or she will apply for an immigrant visa abroad at the U.S. Embassy or U.S. Consulate in. Okay, so this is the beneficiary is in the United States. So there's two options, right? The relative that you're filing the petition for, they are either here in the United States or they're anywhere else in the world, whether they're in their home country or maybe somewhere else. That would be the distinction. If they are here, that's what they're asking. The beneficiary is in the United States and will apply for adjustment of status to that of lawful permanent resident at the United States Immigration Services office in. So that's your local, obviously the most convenient, the nearest USAS office. You will have to look that information up, but most big cities, they have USAS offices over there. But most likely, if you're petitioning for somebody, for a relative who is, most likely they are, outside of the United States. This is going to be the case here. And here you will have to look up the U.S. embassy that is closest to your relative. So, for example, embassy in Brazil. So how do you do that? Well, you go, U.S. embassy in Brazil. And there we go. So we got U.S. Embassy and Consulates in Brazil. Let's see if we can find, there we go. Embassy in Brazil. So this is the address. I've never been in Brazil, so it's kind of hard. But town and province and country. So you obviously country is going to be Brazil. And then city, town, province, whichever one of these is city, Quadra maybe, or maybe Lotte. I don't know. I have no idea. But you get the point. That's really what you are showing here is once this application is approved, once this application is transferred to the Department of State for their processing, once you fill out provide all the financial documents, whole bunch of stuff through the NVC portal to the Department of State, once they approve everything, it will be transferred to the embassy, that embassy that you notified here, the closest to your beneficiary, so that they are invited for an interview to the embassy, the very final stage where they actually get the visa in the passport, that immigrant visa, which is basically a temporary permanent residence card. That's kind of the whole process briefly. So kind of important here. Moving on, other information. Have you ever previously filed a petition for this beneficiary? Yes, no. In our case, we'll just say no. Moving further, other information. This is relatives. Again, by law, you may be imprisoned for up to 5 years or fined $250,000 or both for entering into a marriage contract in order to evade any U.S. immigration laws. Yeah, so don't do any fictitious marriages. Not good. Not worth it. Not worth it. Okay, so the very last thing in the application is the petitioner statement, contact information, declaration, and signature. All you're doing is, yes, I can read and understand English. If the translator helped you or interpreter helped you, you put that information here. This is what you will have to sign once you print this application. So you sign it, you date it, again, interpreter's information, mailing address if somebody helped you, contact information, declaration, signature of the person preparing this petition. If somebody prepared this thing for you, they fill it out here. Contact information, declaration, petition preparing this. If other than the petitioner, yes. So this is the continuation, and you do have at the very end some extras right here, additional information. So all you're really putting in these blank, let's say you have more than 2 employers in that past 5 years, right? So you look up the page number of the application, which, let's see here, let's see if I can find this. Let's see if I can find this quicker than... Okay, so let's do the names of beneficiary spouses. No, not the beneficiaries. Information about beneficiary's family. So let's say the brother has 6 kids, not 5 kids, because there's only 5 persons. So we're gonna go, this is part 4, page 6 of 12. So here, page 6, I think I said part 4, and I didn't look up the item number. Item number would be, I just want to show you so that you know exactly. So okay, so item number is going to be 40 persons, there you go. So 44 to 45. So we're gonna do 41A, item number 41A, and we're gonna do person 6. Can spell person 6. Another child, and then you fill out the information for the next child. Dave Doe, and whatever, right? So this is what you use these blank fields for. So if you have any additional people you want to add as a family members, if you want to add any employment information, if you have any additional addresses that you want to list, this is what you can do. And obviously you can have this page multiple times if you need even more stuff. But that's really it, guys. I know this might seem a little bit intimidating, a little bit hard. There's sort of a lot of information, and you are starting a very serious process. You are filing the petition. It's a lot of responsibility. It might seem a little bit nerve-wracking from the beginning, but obviously you can get yourself an immigration attorney that will help you with all of this. Obviously you can find free organizations that will walk you through it. There's a lot of them. They do it as like a charity or whatever. But at the end of all of this, at the end of the day, you do want to be familiar with this yourself. Don't ever trust your application, your case fully into somebody else's hands. It's fine, if you have a lawyer, if you have a whoever, but it's your case, and you have to be familiar with it. You have to be familiar with the process. You have to be familiar with what to expect and what to do, just in case if something comes up, because this is immigration, and in immigration there's always something that comes up. Obviously, in the end of this video, wanted to highly recommend to do this all online. It's very straightforward. It's much simpler than the paper application, because it really is right there. You don't have to worry about leaving blank spaces and filing and okay, do I write a check? Whose name do I write the check to? All of that information, you just don't worry about it, because everything is done online. It's very simple, very straightforward, and it's submitted immediately. Now, for questions like, okay, who do I address the check to if you still decide to file the paper application? All of that information can be found here in the instructions. Again, I will put the link in the description below so that you can go through it. Once again, I wanted to give a disclaimer. I'm not an immigration attorney. I'm not an immigration practitioner. All of this information, as you can see, is strictly directly from uscis.gov. Literally anybody can open this website, go through all of this that I just went through, and have this information ready. So I'm not giving you an advice. I'm not doing any counseling. I'm not there. This is nothing. You're not paying for this. This is all free immigration channel, right? Free immigration help channel. But I do really appreciate all your support, and if you have any questions, you drop them in the comments below. I try to do every month, every once in a while, video where I just go through all of the questions, all of the comments, and just answer them one by one. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if it was. I'll see you in the next video.